To understand the mathematical relation between production and consumption, imagine yourself to be a farmer with 1.5 hectares of land. Your family has a total of 6 members. To fulfill the needs of your family members, you have to grow more than one crop during a year. A part of your produce will be consumed by your family members. For making things simple, we will make certain assumptions. Firstly, you have enough facilities to store the grains and protect them from pests. Secondly, the whole surplus is sold in the market and the capital is used for next year's production. And thirdly, the production by capital ratio is constant. In the first year, enough money had been provided to you for production, and then after you decided to be self-reliant. Assuming that the ratio of production to capital is constant, below how much should your consumption be so that you can continue your production and stay above poverty line? In the first part of the question, we are asked to calculate the relation between production and consumption so that the production can be continued. Well, this can be calculated using pure mathematics. Next year's production must be greater than or equal to this year's production for the production to be continued. Let me denote production of this year by P and the consumption by C. Surplus of this year's production is equal to P minus C. Therefore, capital for next year's production is P minus C. Let X denote the number of times the production is greater than capital. Therefore, next year's production is equal to X into P minus C. We know that X into P minus C must be greater than or equal to P. So, transposing P to the left hand side of the inequality and X into C to the right hand side of the inequality, we get P must be greater than or equal to X into C divided by X minus 1, or C must be less than or equal to X minus 1 into P divided by X. If the farmer wants the surplus to increase year after year, then C must be less than X minus 1 into P divided by X. And this is the required answer for the first part of the question. In the second part of the question, we are asked to calculate the consumption so that the family can stay above poverty line. This requires the knowledge of economics. Poverty line is an imaginary line of monthly income that is considered appropriate for the country's existing level of development and its accepted minimum social norms. The monetary expenditure per capita required for buying the accepted average calorie requirement is revised periodically, taking into consideration the rise in prices. For the year 2011 to 12, the poverty line for a person was fixed at rupees 816 per month for rural areas and rupees 1000 per month for urban areas. Let us look at a more general case. Let PL denote the poverty line for the country in which the farmer and his family lives. Let N denote the number of family members, including the farmer. To meet their basic requirements, they need a minimum of PL into N rupees per month or 12 into PL into N rupees per year. Therefore, the monetary value of annual consumption of the family C must be greater than or equal to 12 into PL into N. Combining both the inequalities, we get 12 into PL into N must be less than or equal to C less than or equal to x minus 1 into P divided by X, where PL is the poverty line of that country, N is the number of family members, X equals annual production divided by capital, and P is the annual production. After substituting the values and calculating the range in which the consumption can lie, we will find that it will be very difficult for the farmer to sustain the needs of his family members. This is because poverty line is the minimum amount of money that is required to meet the basic requirements like food, clothing, and shelter. But to come into a virtuous cycle, one needs to spend money on one's child's education and health. Despite government initiatives, some investments are yet to be made. Size of the families also contributes to poverty. The fact that the whole family is dependent on agriculture makes them vulnerable to poverty. They face greater risks at the time of natural disasters. Since with such a small land area, the farmer hardly has any savings, he has to borrow money in some unfavorable conditions. Unable to repay because of low income, the whole family becomes victims of indebtedness. In the beginning of the video, I have proposed the question by telling a story about a small farmer to lay emphasis on poverty removal. This story can give a brief idea about poverty cases in India. Removal of poverty has been one of the major objectives of Indian developmental strategy. After listening this story, it becomes quite evident that a large number of poor people live in villages and are dependent on agriculture. In these circumstances, there is a clear need for targeted anti-poverty programs. Despite good intentions, the benefits of these schemes are not fully reached to the deserving poor. Hopefully, we will be able to provide the minimum necessary requirements in terms of only income to all the people by the end of the next decade. But the target will move on for many of the bigger challenges that still remain, providing healthcare, education and job security for all, and achieving gender equality and dignity for the poor. Thank you and have a nice day.